Testing. Hello. Hi, everyone. Why is it so dark? Welcome to the video. Normally, I would wait to film a book video until the sun was up. The sun is about to set. We've got like 5 minutes left, so it's gonna get darker. But I just got a package and I am so excited to start these books that I need to talk to you now so that I can dive in to these, okay? I am so excited for this year to be a great reading year to kind of make up for 2024, which was a little bit lackluster. However, I did just make my favorite books of the year video, and you know what? Looking back, wasn't as bad. I'm just salty because a lot of the books that I was looking forward to let me down. So excited for 2025 to be a great reading year, and these books that I have in my hands, in my lap, off camera, I think are going to be the start of it. So before we dive into talking about what I read the last month of the year, I need to talk to you about the first books I'm going to be reading in 2025, thanks to our sponsor, Book of the Month. When I saw the list of books for January, took me milliseconds to decide. I can't believe the list of books for January. So Book of the Month, as you know, is a monthly subscription service where new releases are read by the Book of the Month team, and they choose some of their favorites from a variety of genres. I've gotten great thrillers from them, great romances, great fantasy. It could be brand new authors. It could be authors that you know and love. And with a subscription, you get to choose one or more books for a low controlled price. They're always going to be hardcover. And this month, you can use the code NEWYOU to get your first Book of the Month book for $5. All right. So what do I have in here? I don't even know which book I want to tell you about first. We'll go with this one because I didn't even know it existed until a couple days ago. A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. I feel like if you're new-ish to this channel, you might not understand how much I love Adrienne Young. I started with her young adult work, Fable, Namesake, that whole series. Oh, if you love fantasy, if you love pirates, drop everything and go read Fable right now. She has since started writing adult work, not always fantasy, but she just writes an incredibly atmospheric story every time. And I don't even know what this is about. This is about a woman investigating her twin brother's mysterious death. Ultimately, she must decide which truths should come to light and which are better left buried forever. Ugh, so yes, so excited for this. The Unmaking of June Harrow was one of my favorite books of last year, I think. I'm always excited to see what she does. So yes, I'm so excited for this. But what I have in this box, I can't believe this is available at Book of the Month. Guys, The Favorites by Lane Fargo. I have heard people freaking out about this book, and like a really diverse cast of characters are hyping this book up. I have people that I trust for romance recommendations. I have people that I trust for sci-fi recommendations. Across the board, everyone who has read this has been obsessed, and I don't know why. So from what I understand, it's about a ice skating duo and just their relationship, and it says, to the world they were a scandal, to each other an obsession. And like I said, I understand people who are into romances, or like even more specifically kind of sports romances. If they said this was good, I'd be like, oh yeah, like that's up your alley. I have people who are mostly like hardcore high fantasy and sci-fi readers who are like, what the I'm obsessed. So there is apparently a shocking incident at the Olympic Games. I don't even want to know. Like, I want to go into this knowing as little as possible. When I saw this on the list, jaw dropped. I was at the library like 25 weeks out on the holds list. Guys, so I'll let you know. This is the reason why I ran here in the dark. So once again, if you are interested in Book of the Month, you can use the code NEWYOU, NEWYOU, to get your first book for $5. Okay, now that that's done, let's talk about what I read in December. I didn't grab it. I ran all the way over there. Okay, so I started off the month reading a collection of short stories called The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. Look at this. Thank you, Nathan, let me borrow this. Beautiful. These are a bunch of usually retellings. There is a Bluebeard, a Beauty and the Beast, a couple Beauty and the Beast retellings, but they're all so eerie and dark. These were all published originally in 1979. So they just have this, I don't know, something about the language she uses. A lot of the settings are quite Victorian, so they just all have this gothic, gruesome feel to them that I just really enjoyed. And it was a very good transition book from the kind of Halloween season into a more dark, wintry feeling. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. Thank you, Nathan, for loaning it to me. The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. After that, a book you might have heard of in my favorites for 2024. This was an audiobook, and if you know me, I'm not an audiobook girl. My attention span just doesn't allow me to do audiobooks. I can handle a few if they are nonfiction because I treat them similar to a podcast, but I end up usually not finishing those books. So this was a book that I was hooked on, and I know I'm going to be listening to it over and over and over again, and that is Braiding Sweetgrass. This has been recommended so many times, but again, it's like, it's nonfiction. I just always kind of put it off, like, oh, I'll read it someday. If you want to start this year on a wonderful note, just in a really incredible headspace, please try reading Braiding Sweetgrass. The author also narrates the audiobook, and her delivery and her voice is just like, she sounded like a grandma. I felt like I was sitting at her feet, just like staring up at her as she changed my life. This is about indigenous traditions and ideas and ideals and beliefs that could and should be used in modern day by like everyone around. I reference it in my favorite books video as well, but I remember I was going for a walk and during my walk ended up reading 5 chapters, and I remember just walking in circles so that I could finish chapter 5 because it was that stunning. That chapter in particular is about gift giving and what is a gift, what is it to receive a gift, what is it to give a gift? Not only how can we treat the world better, but how can we treat ourselves better? I think if you are ever lacking any kind of faith in humanity, it just made me want to like look people in the eye and connect with them. I truly felt that we were all connected, like so incredible. So like Braiding Sweetgrass, 10 out of 10. Like, thank you so much to every person who has ever mentioned it online, because it took me like hearing about it maybe 50 times. It's on Spotify if you have a premium membership. So that's why I was just kind of scrolling through their audiobooks and was like, yeah, I'm going for a long walk. Let's put this on, guys. Okay. After that, I read a really odd book. So I was recently on a podcast with my friends, Control Your Shelf. I'll link it down below. And we were doing kind of a wrap up of our best and our worst and our weirdest books of the year. And all of them agreed that one particular book was bizarre, but in a good way. And so I had to read it, and that is called The Darkness Outside of Us. All I knew about it was there are 2 astronauts stranded in space. And I was like, yep, sounds good to me. This was so bizarre, and I need you to go into it knowing as little as possible. So I can't tell you too much, but it is about a boy, a young astronaut. He's a teenager, an astronaut who is sent on this mission to go retrieve his sister, because his sister, right? Yeah, his sister went to a moon of something. I don't know. God, I read so many space books this month. I'm like, where are we going? Yeah, he's going to, I think it's either Mars or something, whatever, to retrieve his sister because his sister sent out a distress signal and they need to go get her. I don't know, man. So he wakes up on this spaceship, he understands his mission, but something seems really weird about, first of all, the computer, the AI that is kind of running the ship seems really strange. And second of all, there is a door that shouldn't be there. And apparently someone's on the other side. He's supposed to be alone in this spaceship and he wakes up and there is another person on it and he's like, no. What's going on? So again, I don't want to tell you too much. It was really bizarre. I think there were bits that got a little too long, but I was so intrigued. And the ending is really... The ending makes me want to read the second book because I'm so torn about how it ends. So I'm definitely gonna read the second one. I just haven't had time, but I'm so sorry that I'm being so vague, but really you can't know more. You must just be kind of lost and tossed around by this book. So that's The Darkness Outside of Us. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, next up. I picked up a book called Hazardous Spirits. This was a very strange reading experience because according to my notes, I really enjoyed the act of reading it because I was waiting for something to happen. I was like, ooh, this setup is great. And then I got to the end of the book and I was like, well, what happened? Like, what were we building up to? I'm not sure if I can recommend it. It wasn't satisfying, but I enjoyed the atmosphere and I enjoyed the anticipation of something good happening. And then it never happened. So this is post World War II. We are in England. We're following our main character who is married to a very nice, sweet man who is suddenly able to talk to ghosts. He gets really involved in the kind of spiritualism movement, and he really believes in seances and talking to ghosts, and he can hear voices. And we mainly are following our main character, his wife, as she tries to deal with this. Like, if it gets out that he believes in ghosts, like, they're gonna be kind of social pariahs and she can't have that, but she also wants to like support her husband. It was just a very weird little story. And I understand now that a lot of what's happening is that this is directly after World War I. The husband actually didn't serve. I think it was health reasons. So he wasn't on the front lines, but this is a country that had, what was it, like almost half of their like young men not come home from the war. And so I think what was going on is there was a lot of allusions to the real ghosts that people were carrying with them at this time, but the way that it was set up, I was expecting like an actual haunting, and so it just kind of fell flat. But if you're interested in that kind of setting, it wasn't bad. Like, the writing was really great. I was expecting something different. Hazardous Spirits. After that, I read another one of my favorite books of the year. This was a great reading month, actually. Thank you, December. I read Martyr, but my main qualm with this book is that I really don't like this cover, and for some reason the woman on it reminds me so much of Penelope Cruz that every time I went to like turn the page and I would like close it and open it again, I would just see Penelope Cruz. This isn't Penelope Cruz. So that's my main issue. I like the yellow cover, but I got this on sale at a big warehouse sale. So you win some, you lose some. Weird cover, incredible book. One of my favorites of the year. This follows a young man who is obsessed with martyrdom. He's obsessed with making sure that his death matters. Part of this is stemming from the fact that when he was young, like a baby, his mother died in an accident. She was on a plane. And this is a true story that America shot down. They were living in Iran, and there was allegedly a mistake made. And they thought the plane was something else, and so they shot it down, and it was just civilians, including his mother. And so he's lived his life with that kind of obsession of like, what did her death mean? And what does any death mean? And is, your death should be meaningful. So we follow him as he is kind of trying to write a book about martyrs, trying to become a martyr himself, and he's struggling with addiction. Definitely alcohol. I forget if there are other substances, but so he's going to like AA meetings and stuff like that. But then he hears about a artist who is any day now going to be passing away from cancer, and decided to use her death as a art installation, and she's just going to be sitting at the museum, and until she dies you can go up and talk to her and ask her questions and just have a chat, which is so up his alley. So he gets on a plane, and then we kind of follow him as he talks about death with this dying woman. I just thought it was beautiful. I thought it was funny. I tabbed so many pages. It is just, this was a great book. Very glad I picked it up. That is Martyr. I don't know what else to say. So good. After that, I read Do You Dream of Terra-Two? This is the reason why I don't remember what they're trying to do in A Darkness Outside of Us, because they're both kind of similar in that it's just like young people in space. Do You Dream of Terra-Two is about the Earth is dying, as it is. England, of all places, has decided to create a space program that is going to send the best of the best of the best children, basically, young teens, out into space so that they can reach this very far away. It's going to take them like 23 years with some kind of science that we don't even have yet, right? So it usually would have taken hundreds of years. They're going to go very, very far away. They finally found Terra-Two, which is another Earth, basically, and they are going to start another civilization, right? We're following all these different characters. We're going through first the school, then as they are getting ready to start this mission, and then as we are actually on the mission. And immediately I had questions, like just science questions, because why are you launching a rocket from outside of London? Like, you want to be as close to the equator as possible to shoot off a rocket? That's such a waste of energy. Why do you need to shoot it off in the outskirts of London? Like, I just immediately was like, red flag, red flag. No. I was already a little skeptical about this, but it ended up getting quite interesting. I felt like it was building up for a sequel, and then it just, as far as I know, there isn't one. I don't think I really understood part of the ending. Like, there's, again, we have multi-POVs, so all the characters go on many journeys in this short book, but I'm not quite sure like the ending of some of the character stories, like what's going on. Overall, I think if you are looking for a young adult sci-fi that is mainly, it's less about space and more about just like being a human, and how much are you willing to give up? When does your ambition teeter into self-destruction? Yeah, there were so many interesting elements to the story, but I left it a bit unsatisfied. But like I said, if you are interested in young adult sci-fi, it was worth the read. I'm not mad about it. I just wish it ended better, if that makes sense. So that is Do You Dream of Terra-Two? Again with my sci-fi. I finally got my hands on, this came in from the library, These Burning Stars. This was recommended to me because of how much I loved A Memory Called Empire. And this is another kind of sapphic, political intrigue, bizarre sci-fi that I actually do really recommend. If you liked A Memory Called Empire, if you liked Gideon the Ninth, it was very just like complicated and weird and fun. So we are following a bunch of different characters, but essentially in the past, one of the kind of, what do we even call her? She's a person in power, okay? A person in power comes into a school and finds an incredibly talented pupil. And instead of taking that pupil under her wing and choosing to be its mentor, she challenges it, and I mean it because they use it for students. She challenges it. She's like, listen, I'm not going to be your mentor, or I'm going to bury you, basically, unless you do something fucking crazy. You need to go so insane and surprise me, and only then will I ever find work for you in the Empire. And if not, you might as well just quit now, honey. And the story is about, does the pupil quit? Does the pupil go fucking crazy? And This was a book where I halfway through was like, wait, what are we doing? Like, what's the point of all of this madness? Like, it's just, there's so much action and there's so much running around. I like lost the plot a little bit. I was like, wait, what? But by the end, I was having so much fun. And by the end, I was just like, yes, this was fun. So I can't really go into the plot too much, but it's a little bonkers. It definitely needs your full attention. There's a lot of time jumping back and forth. There's a lot of characters. Save it until you have time to like sit down with it. But I had fun. I had a lot of fun. It's a series, but honestly, I think the way that it ends is I feel comfortable stopping. Like, I could continue the series, but like I'm satisfied with what I read. And yeah, that's These Burning Stars. A good time. Okay. My next read, Your Neighbor's Table. This is by Gu Byung-mo, who I read The Old Woman with the Knife, I believe it was earlier this year, and it was fine. I don't remember too much of it, but it was fine. This was great. I really enjoyed, not great, but I really enjoyed this book. I actually picked this up because I saw it on Book Talk, and someone was saying that it was a dystopian piece of literature, and I was like, oh, dystopian set in Korea, gimme. So I was expecting that this would have some kind of like futuristic, fictional dystopian element to it, but it is in fact just the real dystopia that is modern day Korea, unfortunately. I kept reading it being like, oh, something's gonna happen, like, oh, I can't wait for the twist, and then it was like, oh, no, it's just what it's like to be a Korean woman. It is dystopian, but like I was hoping it was fictional. This is about a government-funded apartment complex outside of Seoul, kind of in the middle of nowhere, which is very common here now because nobody can afford to live in Seoul. And it's geared towards young families. They're hoping that if you move there, you will have at least 3 children in order to help the declining birth rate here in Korea, which again exists. We have apartment complexes specifically for young families. We have loans. We have all this stuff. So like I said, there's nothing futuristic, sci-fi, creepy about it. It's just real life. And so we follow the 4 mothers who move in here with their young children. Just the specific pressures of like Korean small communities, like setting up a babysitter system, like an 어린이집, like a daycare. If you're a woman, why are you working and why not your husband? And how does your husband feel about that? And I read it in one day. I really recommend if you like very realistic stories of modern day Korea. This one I think captured it so well, and that is Your Neighbor's Table. I've also heard that it's called The Apartment Women in different editions of this, so keep your eye out, but it's by Gu Byung-mo. Your Neighbor's Table. Ooh, after that, I was on a very long bus ride, and I finally got from the library Evenings and Weekends. This has been talked about so much. I think it's specifically for fans of like Sally Rooney. This is by an Irish author. It is following a group of people living in London over the course of, I think it's like a week. It's this incredible heat wave hitting the UK. There is a whale stuck in the Thames. There's a lot going on. It's basically about a group of friends that are all, for various different reasons, wondering if they should stay in London, and like, what are they doing is the main question. Like, they're all just looking at themselves like, I am in my late 20s or my 30s. Am I living correctly? And I personally really liked it, actually. I think in my notes I said the middle half dragged, but the last 25% was chef's kiss, even though it left me feeling very heavy. So it is a very melancholy book, but I don't know, I enjoyed it. But I would recommend reading it in summer. Reading it in winter and having them talk about how hot they were, and I'm sitting here in multiple layers, freezing, not quite the vibe I wanted. So put that maybe on your list for summer, or hey, my Southern Hemisphere people, for you. Ooh, okay, this one, I feel really bad about this, and I'm sharing it so that perhaps you can convince me to change my mind, because it's a DNF. Servant of the Earth. I'm so sorry. So many of you guys recommended it to me, and the cover, the premise, I was there for it until I started reading it. And unfortunately, I felt like the beginning was quite interesting. It's about a village that is in the human realm, but it's right on that border of fairy. And every 7 years or something, they kind of have a reaping where they choose, I think it's 4 or 5 young women to go to fairy and like live there and, I don't know, sacrifices, right? And our main character's best friend gets chosen, and we gotta go rescue her because we're not giving her to the fairies. After that point, like up until that point, good. But once we actually start exploring fairy, the way that the story unfolded was so bizarre to me because it felt like the first sentence or the first paragraph of every chapter was so unsubtle in its foreshadowing that I knew what this chapter was going to be about. So I felt like I could just read the first paragraph of every chapter and like figure it out myself. But it was like chapter 6. This isn't a spoiler, but like she's not allowed to go near any door of the other houses, and she knows where 5 of them are. There's 6 doors. So now she's going to go out for a walk thinking she's safe. What's going to happen? She's going to stumble on the 6th door. You know, like it just happened so many times that it was like, well, at least nobody knows, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay, well, now everybody's going to find out, blah, 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 in this chapter. I just was getting quite sick of it. I wasn't sure that I really liked our main character. She was an unlikable character, but for no reason I could discern. Like, I don't care if a character is unlikable. I just want there to be either a reason or like, I don't know, yeah. Anyway, please convince me to pick it up again. Let me know why you liked it. What was I missing? I just felt like all of the characters were really unlikable, and they felt like they were stopping the plot. Like every character wouldn't do their job. Like she doesn't want to participate in this, and then the girl that she's supposed to be the maid for is like, yeah, I actually don't need your help. Just go wander around. It was just really bizarre that like no one wanted to do anything. It was just like walking around. And I think I have walking around in tunnel trauma from earlier this year. So any plot that is just like, let's wander around underground tunnels, I'm just like, no more. I can't take it. That is Servant of the Earth. Please chime in because I am very open. I was going through like a very rough time mentally at this point. So very willing to try again. My reading comprehension was like not all there, I'm going to be honest. So, Servant of the Earth. But after that, I read a surprising Kindle Unlimited book. This was recommended by someone in the comments, so thank you so much if it was you. But it's called To Poison a King. And I have not read anything by this author. I hadn't heard of it other than in my comment section. It's Kindle Unlimited. And you know what? I have plenty of issues with this book, but it hit. It was the first night of my cycle, so I was very emotional, and I was crying for like half of this book. And this isn't necessarily a sad book, but I was just in bed, like tears falling down my face. This is about a girl whose mother is the royal physician. For reasons unknown, her mother decides that she's going to poison the new young king. She's going to make her daughter do it. Her daughter's going to go deliver the poison. When the poison only half works, doesn't kill him, her mother runs away and just leaves her daughter so that, like, it's not suspicious. I don't know. Her mom, you know, questionable actions abound in this book. So our girl stays and she takes over the royal physician job and has to help try to find out how to heal the king, who she's the one who poisoned him, you know. It's messy. Pros about this book. Pros, yearning for days. This is what we want, people. Oh my god, like I can't. The yearning was so good. So good. The story was fine. Like it was overall like hit everything I like about a romantasy. Like, I almost forgot what I mean when I say romantasy. This was what I want. The magic system was very weird and questionable, and we veer into this weird kind of like fairy tale territory. Like, are the myths of this kingdom true? That, like, loose ends never get tied up or really explained or anything like that. So the world building isn't rock solid, but I just liked it, okay? Issues I had, big time. Number one, I will say, part of the king's poisoning is that he becomes paralyzed various degrees, like when he is healing, and then he might become paralyzed again. So a young, healthy dude dealing with waking up and he is paralyzed from the neck down doesn't really have great things to say about disabilities. I think at the end, like, his journey with his disability is good. But I will say that, just as a warning, he doesn't have nice things to say about wheelchairs in the beginning of this book. But my main issue, and I just want to sit this author down and be like, what? Why? Is the age gap. This king is a young king. His father died unexpectedly. He had to take over the throne. There is no reason why he needs to be 23 years old. And there is no reason why our main girl, when they first meet, is 14. Yeah, she's 14. She turns 15 quickly afterwards. There's a 9-year age gap for, say it with me, no reason. He acted like a bratty 16-year-old boy. So why does he have to be 23? It just made no sense. So the whole book is like it takes place over a long period of time, which I kind of appreciated for their actual relationship to grow. But this is from ages 14 until she's like 18, 19. He is 23 until he's like 26 or 7. You could have made him 12. You could have made him younger than her, and the story wouldn't have changed. And I don't know why she did it. Like, it's so bizarre. Why was he 23? Anyway, that is easy to forget because, again, they are written like they're the same age. So block it out. If you want to read a quick story that has a lot of yearning, there you go. To Poison a King. Sorry, I just get so, like, it was such a weird detail. Why? Anyway. Calm down. I'm sorry. Wow, it is so dark. Now I'm going to try and... the sun is gone. I'm going to try and be really fast, except for the fact that my camera is dying. So, okay, we're back. Sorry. So, really quickly. Bridgerton. The Selection. Fae Princes. So I got your attention? The Rose Bargain. This is an arc that was gifted to me by a friend who works for HarperCollins. So thank you so much. This was a fun time. Yeah, this was absolutely fine. So basically, in the 1400s, a Fae queen wins the War of the Roses. Henry, Edward, out. Fae queen, in. Fast forward to the 1840s, where we are living in a society that has a Fae queen. And it's still a very kind of Regency era. There's still lords and ladies and dukes and marquesses or whatever. So it is the start of the social season. Our main girl is debuting into society. Her family name has been wrecked because her sister got in a kerfuffle. She's got to do it for her family. They're going to lose the house. She's got to save her family's name. And what better opportunity than this social season, because the Fae Prince has decided he will be taking a bride this season. So then we get the selection-esque competition. So it was a little silly. Like, the competition aspect was really dumb. I will say, somebody asked me this on TikTok, I think. It lacks the kind of girl hate. There's definitely bullying, I think, in the beginning because her family's name has been wrecked and none of her friends want to talk to her anymore. But it very quickly becomes kind of like a sisterhood vibe. They're very supportive of each other. There's a little bit trying to one up the other girls in order to like get attention from the prince, but that's seen as a very bad action. It's not perfect, but what happens when the human prince, the kind of adopted son of the Fae Queen, wants to take down the Fae Queen. He wants to break a certain curse, and he needs our main girl to do it. That's all I can say. You know, like I said, not perfect, but I was in a reading slump and this did it for me. I think if you like the selection, but you want it to be a little bit more interesting, it is a duology, a trilogy. I don't know. It's not a standalone. It ends really well. I liked the ending. I'm excited for the next one. The Rose Bargain. Simple, passes the time, delish. Oh, but I did write that there's not, even though it's like the Fae Queen, it didn't feel very magical to me. We're talking about breaking curses and blah, blah, blah. It's not very fantasy-esque. Just a disclaimer. So, there you go. Oh, then I had another arc. It's out already because I've seen people talk about it and I just got it from NetGalley and didn't read it in time. But now I'm glad that I did. It's called The Bog Wife. This takes place in Appalachia. I think it's either West Virginia. It's like the West Virginia, North Carolina area. Okay. They're supposed to be hidden. They're still safe from me. I don't know where they are. It's about this family that they have been gifted ownership of this bog, and basically as long as they stay and take care of the land will always give the patriarch a wife from the bog. Like a woman will just come out of the bog and be his wife. I don't know. So we're following like the 7th or 8th generation of this family living in the bog, and the father is about to pass. So we are preparing for the eldest son to do the rituals needed, and we're going to be welcoming a new bog wife to the family. And one of the sisters has managed to kind of escape. It feels very culty. It immediately feels eerie. It immediately feels like there's something very wrong with this situation. The kids have never gone to school. They are supposed to be in their 20s and they act like they are maybe 10 years old. It reminded me a lot of The Village by M. Night Shyamalan, which is like an aesthetic I love so much. So I can't go into it too much more, but I think it got a little long and a little strange. And honestly, I was just really sad for all the characters involved. But something about that creepy, crawly atmosphere was really great. So it's slow, it's weird, but I recommend it. The Bog Wife. Wrapping it up. For Christmas, we had a very slow Christmas. Really didn't do anything. I took an actual break. I haven't taken a proper vacation where I'm not working, not filming at all in a very long time. So I had nothing else to do. We went for long walks and then I just came home and read a lot. And so for Christmas, I read The Price of Salt, which is what Carol is based off of. I saw so many people talking about watching Carol as their Christmas movie. And I was like, I kind of want to read it. And it stays pretty true, I think, to the movie from what I only watched the movie once. But it is about a woman who is working in a department store, basically makes eye contact with a woman who is shopping, and it's like she's struck by lightning. And she's just obsessed. And we follow that relationship. It's just sad and really good. I think if you're in a reading slump, I'm actually working on a video about this, but if you feel like you are in a reading slump, I highly recommend reading a book that has a movie made of it, that you know the movie well. Because for this, I really could turn a lot of my brain off and it felt like I was just watching the movie. Price of Salt, highly recommend. I love that atmosphere of that time period in New York City. A lot of it is like the beginning bits are Christmassy and stuff. So it was a good Christmas read. The Price of Salt. Another book that was on my favorites of 2024 is Swimming in the Dark. This takes place in Poland in the 1950s. We start off at a kind of summer work camp where young teens are sent to like the countryside to help farmers. And during this camp, our main character kind of starts a relationship with another young boy, and they go off on their own little vacation. And it's like this beautiful, idyllic romance. And then they have to go back to real life. And the kind of ever growing big brotherness of the Polish government at that time. The Soviet Union is kind of lurking. Obviously, you are not allowed to be gay, and so much of your quality of life is based on the connections that you have and like playing your perfect part. This book was basically a letter to that boy that was a defining love in our main character's life, and it was just really beautiful and sad. I can't recommend it enough. I can't say anything more really, but Swimming in the Dark, one of my favorites of the year. Coming in clutch at the end. After that, I read Zami. This is another one that I put on my best books of the year. I finished real strong this year. Zami, A New Spelling of My Name. This is by Audre Lorde, who I have been wanting to read Audre Lorde's work. And I found this to be a really great place to start because this is she calls it a biomythology. So it is a biography, but she says interspersed with a bit of myth as well. But it really gave me a great understanding of her life and the basis of kind of what she believes and who she fights for and you know, what her values are. And it was really good and really accessible. I find that when it comes to authors that are so revered, I'm worried that I'll get it, you know? And this was so easy to read, just filled with such interesting ideas. We follow her through her childhood in Harlem in the 30s and 40s. She is a black girl living in Harlem but going to a predominantly white Catholic school, and she's also legally blind. Childhood was a struggle, but it was also filled with that just like magic of childhood. Her parents really protected her from a lot of the racism that she kind of didn't notice until later. Or she kind of categorized it as something else. We follow her as she ends up leaving the city, getting work, falling in love with a few women, questioning what love is. Can she even fall in love? What is a relationship? Coming back into the city, trying to be this like strong, independent woman that everyone sees her as, but she's also very lost and scared. It was just a really, really beautiful piece of work, and makes me want to immediately dive into more. So that is Zami by Audre Lorde. Highly recommend. And weirdly enough, it mentions Poland. She's very politically active, obviously, but in the book she talks about the various rallies that she's going to and things like that. And she mentions Poland in the 50s, which is what Swimming in the Dark was. I had just learned about in Swimming in the Dark. So it was very like synchronicity. I love. And then my very last book, we are wrapping this up, I'm so sorry. I thought Zami was going to be my last book of the month, but I ended up picking this book up and I couldn't stop reading it, and that is Diavola. This is a little horror book that was so bizarre. So I ended up okay. We're following a girl who has a very dysfunctional family. So it's her twin brother, her older sister, her older sister's husband and 2 kids, and then their mom and dad. So the whole family packs up. They're gonna go rent this villa in Tuscany and just have a cute little Italian summer. Okay, family vacay. The second we get to the house, something is wrong. It feels icky. There were so many jump scares. For the first 50%, I was hooked. And I ended up putting down the book at 50% because I was falling asleep because it was very late at night. And I was scared. I went out and sat on the couch and watched Kurt play video games to like calm me down. Like I was that freaked out. So the next morning I read the last 50%. I finished the book throughout that day. The last 50% wasn't that great. I think it would be fantastic and campy as a horror movie. There were a lot of scenes that I could see the vision. I understood the montage that we were going to get. In writing, it just kind of dragged. I think it would have made an excellent film though. What an odd way to end the year, let me tell you, Diavola. And then I took a break from reading. I took a break from work. Then I needed to just kind of take a break from books as well, so that I can start this month on a great note. So that is what I read in December of 2024. We're done with that year. So I'm so excited. Again, things are already looking up, at least in terms of reading. Once again, thank you so much to Book of the Month. I cannot wait to start these books. You have no idea. You can use my code NEWYOU for your first book, $5. Have at it. Thank you so much as always. And thank you to you guys. Once again, a lot of these were from your recommendations, so I do take them seriously. And let me know what you're reading, what's going on. Have you read the favorites? Have you heard the hype about the favorites? What am I getting into? I'm so excited. So I will catch you very soon, and I'll be heading out to New York next week to see my family. So hopefully getting some American book content. I've got a little list of books I want to pick up while I'm there. Hangang's new book coming out. Very excited. So bright things in the future. As always, got things to look forward to. And I will see you then. Okay? Thank you always. Sorry for the darkness, but I was just too excited. And we'll have better lighting next week. So see you later.